All righty, beautiful people. I'm gonna just check and see if you guys can hear me, if we are live. It's like KUTLUHAN is on his way. And you guys don't know how much I am anticipating this. I have butterflies in my stomach. This is gonna be great. All righty, beautiful. I hear myself. I'm gonna just, all righty, Eugene, give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and spread the link. Facebook, Twitter. Let's see. So again, KUTLUHAN is on his way, so take your time joining in, folks. We'll get started real soon. But yeah, I think the long lost art of simplicity, that's really going to be the key to returning back to fulfillment, returning back to happiness, returning back to how things should be or how things once were. And again, returning back to what we fell out of in our arrogance when it comes to technology and so on and so forth. I think we've been complicating things way too much. So, once I ran into Masanobu Fukuoka's work, man, it was very refreshing. It felt like a lot of weight was taken off of me, because I was thinking this whole agriculture business is a lot of work, But then people like KUTLUHAN and again Fukuoka come by and say, nope, nature should be doing that work. We should be reducing the redundancies and so on and so forth. So yeah, here I'm just going to spread the link a bit. Let's see what KUTLUHAN is up to. Y'all pour on in, pour on in. KUTLUHAN is messaging you right now. Okay, he's updating right now. That's what I've been feeling too, guys, is there's been a lot of updates going on, you know what I mean? Like in the world stage, the energies are weird and, a lot of different things are happening very quick. It seems like, even in the government, like different things are popping off. Things are getting very explosive. A little bit unstable, and it seems very obvious to me that we're going into some exciting times very soon here. So what better way to prepare, right, than to get into the soil, than to revitalize the soil, work the soil, than to, invest your time and your energy into nature. That's really where all our time and our energy should be going to. Anything else is unnatural, is it not? So let's see. And I think KUTLUHAN will introduce himself a little bit, but he's basically, I think it was upwards of 15 or 14 people that were disciples of Fukuoka. He's gone and visited them in South Americas and various areas, many people in Japan. And I guess he's just taken the best thing from each person, and now he's doing his own thing. Oh, the man is here. What is up, KUTLUHAN? Welcome. So yeah, let's get started, brother. Thank you for joining in, man.
Thanks to you. How are you?
Good. I'm fantastic. So yeah, this is the beginning of our Edenology series, and I'm your host, Eugene. And here we have KUTLUHAN, my most anticipated guest so far, and your new number one fan. Yeah, welcome, brother. And perhaps you could just maybe give a light introduction of who you are and yeah, how you got into natural farming and all that.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for this beautiful meeting. And it is an honor for me to meet with you and to know what you do, your project in Portugal. So I'm a farmer and living in Italy. In 2014, after a couple of years that I read Fukuoka's books, I decided to travel and meet with his students and see the application of the natural farming, because it seemed to me like utopia. And I wanted to see with my own eyes. And I still had the desire of traveling. And so I said, okay, I was living in Istanbul, go out from Istanbul and start traveling and visiting different natural farms around the world. And after 2 years in South America, I spent around a bit more than 4 years, almost 5 years in Greece, another natural farm. And since 2 years, I live in Italy and taking care of my own farm and sowing seeds. Let's call it like this.
Fantastic. So I'm kind of getting the vibe that you picked up all the best things from each farmer. Were they all doing like different things? Because when I think natural farming, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, like for me, it was also a beautiful point to see. Each farm was different, but there was a single common point that was there for all the farms. It was the awake soil, basically. In the moment that was going and seeing the farms, the common point of them was an awake soil and a farmer that was part of this awakening process. Let's call it like this.
Yeah, and I heard you going a little bit into like that they're like, they were like a chicken, right? Like a chicken, he's not necessarily, trying so hard and like causing so much of a big effort in the farm, but everything he does, he just naturally aids in this process of the soil. Is that correct? And maybe you could elaborate a little bit on the importance of reviving the soil.
Yes, it is actually the whole essence of natural farming, or if you like to call do nothing farming. It comes when we think about when we hear mostly do nothing farming, people think of physically doing nothing and lying down under a fruit tree all day and waiting that this fruit will fall on our mouth. But this is not going to happen. That fruit will fall on the ground. That will not fall on our mouth. And actually, do nothing farming is simply like a chicken living in the farm. Like wakes up with the sun and all the it moves in the farm. Moves a bit the seeds from here to there, leaves some manure. It is always in the action. And when the sunset comes, it goes to sleep. And in the end of the day, it didn't have any intention of working. It didn't even have any intention of awakening the soil or creating a natural farm. Has no intention, basically. But all the action that the chicken takes during the day is naturally offering to the soil fertility, or let's say the way that lead us to a natural farm. And it is the same as for us human beings. If one is able to live a natural life, there is no need any book or anyone to tell you what to do, or like there is nothing to do. It is simply living a natural life. And once you are able to do that, everything happens by its own.
Man, see, this is what fascinates me, because till now it's like the conventional farming or conventional agriculture is so like intention based. You know what I mean? Like I have to be doing this, I have to be doing that. But see, like this is what's so revolutionary to me. It's like, when I hear Fukuoka say do nothing, like it's like, no, it's like, reverse the intention. It's almost like the intentions is what has us in this depleted soil, this desertified environment, all of the above, the continuing problems. Is that correct?
Yes, it is exactly like this.
Fantastic. So, actually, maybe you could elaborate because you're right now it's raining where you're at, and that's why it happened to be a perfect time to do this podcast, right? What's the importance of rain, right? Where does that role play into natural farming, and how do we, navigate that with the soil and so on and so forth?
Well, of course, it is quite important, the rainfall for the soil, for the plants, trees, and for whole planet, all living beings. But it doesn't start from the water that falls from the sky, which is rain, but actually it starts the underground water. Like if you look at, as an example, if you look at Africa, that is a continent that is on the three sides covered by the sea, and it stays in the equator line, yet it is a desert.
Yeah.
It is because the rain doesn't fall anymore. It is because we cut down all the forests. We were in Kenya last year, a couple of months ago, and there was a mountain that is called Mount Kenya. And when you enter this area, the Mount Kenya area, it was the soil, and as you step, it was wet. Like each step that you was making, you were hearing the water, and it was a continuous humidity. And we were just moving 20 to 30 kilometers away from, let's say, this mountain habitat, and it was desert. But once upon a time, it was also a rainforest. We just simply cut down everything. And so in the moment there are no trees, there are no vegetation, no forest, there will not be any rainfall as well. So it is actually the same thing.
Yeah, so perhaps that's a great segue into what do we do then, right? Because I know it's about do nothing, but it's kind of like help nature in us kind of doing nothing kind of a thing. So, like in that kind of environment where it's like desertified, do you do the clay balls and sell like hundreds of different varieties, or like how would you go about it? Let's say if you had unlimited supplies and funding, or yeah.
Well, we don't need unlimited fundings. Actually, we like only thing we need to do is simply sow seeds, and if we just create simply seed balls and sow it and let the nature decides which forest should grow and what should happen there, this would be the easiest way for us, and also the most economic way to forest in a desert piece.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing about this whole natural farming. It's so economical, right? Like I've heard you kind of go into it a little bit too, but like after you revitalize the soil, it almost just like takes care of itself. So I find that very fascinating.
Well, this starts with this is very connected also the selling part. Like just to make an example, here in the farm Shizen, where we are now in Italy, everything that we produce, including cherries and sour cherries, apple, plums, tomatoes, anything like peppers and aubergines, everything is sold €2 per kilogram, because simply we have no production cost. Like we don't use any tractors, no petrol-based machine, no fertilizer, no pesticides. There is nothing that we need to buy. Of course, there are some simple farming tools that we are buying, but apart from that, there is no cost to take care or bring further the farm. So any price that you sell, it is a pure income. So we can sell everything in a fixed and very cheap price, which is €2 per kilogram.
That is seriously game changing, man, because the whole idea of like organic food, everyone's paying like loads more for these foods, but it should really be the opposite, right? Like if you're not using organic pesticides, if you're not doing all this kind of stuff, and it's just the soil getting more, rich, it should go down, not up, right? Like,
well, this is an interesting point also. Like organic farming, first of all, it is not a solution. Like it is another kind of dependency for those products, and they have a lot of cost of production. And you can see as a confirmation that organic product organic products, they are sold in the markets 3 to 4 times more expensive than the conventional products.
Yeah.
And still, like, there is a very interesting question to make to ourselves. What does it mean an organic pesticides? Or what does it mean organic herbicide? Like, just try to look at it. It is still sprayed with the intention of killing the insects. If we are talking about organic pesticides and organic herbicides, it is still sprayed with the intention of killing the wild plants. So the intention is as same as the chemical farming. Actually, it is just what the poison that we are using. It is not chemical based, but it is natural based. In this case, they are produced out of the fungi, but the intention is always to kill those living beings. And as we kill them, there will never be the natural ecosystem restored, because there is always the human interaction entering and killing some living beings.
Yeah, seriously. So, and maybe again, that's another great kind of a hole to go into, is like, then how do we integrate and create a more biodiverse kind of ecosystem without trying to suppress weeds or kill weeds? Because I've heard of like the cover cropping and stuff too, or without killing insects, or without trying to. I heard of your fencing story, without trying to fence off animals, and how do we do that?
By sowing seeds and awakening the soil. This is like a healing process. In the first, when one starts natural way of farming, it is very normal that at the first some living beings becomes dominant. But actually, and we see them as the diseases, but actually it is not a disease. It is simply the life is turning back. It is just in that moment, one species can be that it is the first one that comes, and the population of this species will go up, and it will reach to the maximum point, and the predators will arrive. And then their predators will arrive. So it will take some time, some years, and there will come a moment after 3, 4, 5 years of sowing seeds and staying behind, there will be nothing else to do. It is just, there comes a moment where soil awakes, and only interaction that we need to do is to sow seeds and harvest.
Fantastic. And then, because if something is in dominance, then it just means that nature needs that specific insect to be in dominance, right? Like we think of it so like antagonistically. We look at nature as such an opposition, separation type of thing. Yeah, we've totally lost all our senses. So I did want to kind of get into then, like, let's say you're like in Portugal, it's really dry here, and there's like around this time especially, and there's like lots of kind of like barren land, and like what these Portuguese do oftentimes is they wreck the quality of the soil just by like tilling it, or thinking that they're managing it and all this kind of stuff. So let's say we were encountered with a land that's there's just some lavender growing, native flower, there's not. What seeds do you start with? Clover? Do you bring mulch in? Like, what exactly? Where would you start?
Well, this we need to talk in a really with a let's say in a moment that we have more time, or also I can say like we can still talk now, but it will be just some touch of each subject. Let's call it like this.
Sure.
If we are talking about a fruit orchard, we can take certain actions to bring back the life. We can also not do anything, but simply sow the seed balls. But just in that case, the way will be a little bit longer. Or we can choose to take certain actions to fasten this process. This can be bringing some organic material. This can be manure or compost or vermicompost, and those materials will be used only in the first years, not the whole farming time. And then start sowing seeds. it is the soil structure is like our community, and everyone is offering to the other, to the whole. Like there are farmers, there are drivers, there are bakeries, doctors, teachers, and everyone is offering for the good of the community. And all of a sudden, if we start bringing everyday bread to a city, in the long run, there will not be bakeries anymore in that city. And there will not be farmers who are producing grain in that area. So it is the same as using the organic materials. If we keep on bringing all the time from outside, there will not be microorganisms that are creating the fertility in the soil. But starting from zero, from a dead soil, we stimulate this process. We bring in the first years some organic materials, like setting a new society from zero. First, we bring things from outside till this society is self-sufficient within itself.
Yeah.
And then the self-sufficiency in the soil will come with a big biodiversity, which is sowing seeds.
Gotcha. And so just to kind of maybe perhaps give a concrete example, would you just put like any kind of manure just flat on the floor, and then like, would you even consider putting like mulch over it, or not yet? Is that more gardening, vegetable garden stuff?
Well, we can actually, the whole process is the same, either for the vegetable garden or for the farm. Like it is a piece of land is being awakened. But for the vegetable garden, we make even one step a bit faster.
Yeah.
Instead of sowing the seeds, let's call it like this, we bring the mulch material also from outside, because we would like to eat quickly, grow vegetables quickly. Yes. You can also not do it. Yes. You can also just sow, and then the next season cut it, and you will already have the mulch in the place. But if you like to start even quicker, so that could be to lay down some organic material. This can be manure or compost or vermicompost or any organic material that you can reach, and then make a good and thick layer of mulch mixed with straw and hay. This can be even up to 20 centimeter. And then just even next stage, you can just remove the mulch. And when you see the organic material that we lay down, and you can start sowing or transplanting. And we already have the vegetable garden. And the first autumn that will come, again, we will start sowing the seeds also on the vegetable garden in order to grow our own mulch material, and also bring back the fertility to the soil, because we cannot also bring continuously from outside hay and straw.
Exactly. Got it. So then you would just like, let's say I want to do a fruit orchard really quickly with the vegetable garden as well. Then I would put all this hay there, start to do maybe those like sapling type stuff. But then I could also just spray different kinds of seeds over the hay, right? Like that's what you're doing. You're throwing these clay balls just kind of all over the place over the hay. Does that work? Or
well, this, if we are talking about the fruit orchard, it is the process is laying down the organic material and then sowing seeds or seed balls in a way that is more eligible for the moment, and then mulch them with a thin layer of more material. This can be straw or hay. This is for the fruit orchard, because the intention there is to grow the seeds that we are sowing. So they will grow and they will start bringing back to the life into the soil with their roots. And when they die, they will already become the mulch material. Okay. But if we want to start a vegetable garden, quickly vegetable garden with an intention of eating already in the same season, then we lay down the organic material and put a thick layer of mulch up to even 20 centimeter, and then remove it, and then we can sow and transplant the vegetable that we would like to eat.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, because that's what I was kind of wondering, was like the difference between like you trying to grow fruit and grow veggies, but I guess what you're saying is it doesn't really matter unless you're trying to grow the vegetables quickly, and in that case, then you do that thick mulching, right?
Well, actually, this is like let's say, what we call a vegetable garden, it is simply like, it is not, there is no separation between vegetable
Yes,
garden or a
got
farm,
it.
but it is simply, we would like to eat quickly,
Quicker.
even in the first season. So we, instead of waiting that we sow seeds and when they reach to maturity, we cut them so we have the mulch. This means that one season should pass. So instead of waiting this, we bring the mulch material also from outside for the area that where we call vegetable garden. But actually, in the first coming autumn season, we will do the same seedings everywhere on the vegetable garden and also on the farm. So after 3-4 years, there will come a moment, there will not be any separation between a vegetable garden or a fruit orchard. It will whole farm area, like the soil will be awake. And once the soil is awake, everything will grow everywhere. There is
It's
no
done.
exactly.
That's fantastic, man. Oh my gosh. Like I cannot wait to see this for like with my own eyes. Like, so yeah, I mean, maybe we just go simply into, you know, how do we make these clay balls? Could you please describe to the viewers where they can start?
Well, first of all, you are always welcome here if you feel like to Italy and
Do you have a job for me, sir? Because I would be your pad. Have you watched Star Wars before?
Sorry?
Have you watched Star Wars before?
No, I didn't watch.
Okay. But anyhow, they have this thing called a Padawan, and it's like an apprentice. So like they have like this master swordsman Jedi. Well, I feel like you're that, and I would love to be like your little assistant that picks up and learns.
We are farming together. Yeah. If you come, we will learn together from the nature, and we will sow together the seed balls.
Fantastic. And, you know, actually, and right before we get into clay balls, maybe you can go a little bit into what you do in Africa. And, you know, do you want people to help you in that regard or, yeah.
Well, let me first answer about the seed balls and then we come to Africa. So for the seed balls, actually, there is no fixed recipe to prepare them.
Yeah, right.
Because it really depends on the climate and where you are and the rains that area that we are living in. Just to make an example, where Fukuoka was living, it is a subtropical climate. And there are 11 months of constant rains. So for him, the main issue was to keep the seed balls after once they were prepared, to keep them in the shape, because once it was starting to rain, after a day, seed ball was already melted. The clay was already gone and the seeds were still not germinated. So he, in order to eliminate this situation, he tried to use different natural materials, including the calcium, including some coconut fiber, some straw pieces, just to give more consistency to seed ball. But once they organize a very big seeding, reforestation in Greece, they choose to use a zeolite, which is actually a clay, a type of clay. And it has the capacity of holding the water once there is water and releasing once there is drought. Because the Mediterranean climate, it rains one day and then it doesn't rain for the next week, maybe 2 days, and then there are no more rains for another 2 weeks. So the importance was to keep the humidity in the seed ball. And that's the reason why they use zeolite. So you have to see and choose, make the right decision accordingly. And as Fukuoka says, seed balls that are prepared with 100 varieties of seeds, that is a very good seeding. And of course, this 100 varieties, it is a referment from him to a big biodiversity. If we can start with 20, we start with 20.
Would you say there's any like crucial seeds that you really want? Like, for instance, I'm just thinking like clover and alfalfa. That seems to be a very common thing to like kind of break the soil, fix the nitrogen, and then cover. Is that correct?
Well, there are very good plants that are very eligible in the dry climates, like in South Europe, like in Italy, Portugal, Spain. And like one is alfalfa plant, which is an excellent plant, and or field bean, broad bean, vetch, peas, some daikon, mustard, and beetroot, the forage beet, and it can be some rye, barley. If we can mix all those plants, all those varieties, and sow together, that will be a very good seeding. And
Okay.
it will not work as Fukuoka was using in Japan in our climate, because it cannot pass the whole summer without water in
Got it.
Mediterranean climate. But maybe you can try to sow in autumn time, since we don't have these hard winters in Portugal in that case, and it is quite humid and wet. So it can be a good option for the winter season. But in summer, it will not be able to pass the whole season without water.
Got it. Yeah, because I was on this one land in Monchique. There's like this mountain, this magical mountain in Portugal. And there it was a very like humid kind of subtropic, or like, how do you say it? Like a valley kind of area. And I remember seeing there, it was just like covered in this like clover type thing. And I didn't know about Fukuoka at this time, but I was just thinking like, oh, this is probably very good for the soil. It probably dies off and regenerates, blah, blah, blah. And then now I come to hear Fukuoka and he's talking about it, and I'm just like, like that just blew my mind. Yeah. But anyhow, yeah, maybe you can go a little bit into Africa before I change the subject here. Yeah, what is it that you're doing with the Kenyans, and do you have plans for other places, perhaps?
Well, this was let's say, the first serious movement that we have made towards the Africa, and it was Kenya. And we moved around with the intention of growing food, and with the local people, with the Maasai tribe as well. And we were going around, and if I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5 different tribes and the communities, we established together with the local people some vegetable garden, and even with some of them some fruit orchards. And we are returning back now in November, December, because it is really like, once you are there, it is very strong, the Africa, and seeing African people, the movement that is going on in Africa, and the food production, you realize that it is a very serious point. So we decided to go back in November and December time, again, to starting from Kenya and maybe going to Tanzania and Uganda and maybe some other African countries as well, with the intention of growing food.
Fantastic, man. So like, if we can get into some down to earth examples, because you were doing the mulch thing with the vegetable gardens, or like, what would you do in their climate, maybe different from Italy?
It is a totally different climate. Well, actually, even within Kenya, there are very differences. Like in one part that we were in, that was around the Lake Victoria. That was a quite easy climate from a point of view of growing food. There were still good rains and good humidity and access to water. But as we move towards the Maasai people on the border between Tanzania and Kenya, the situation was very, very hard there. And they were telling us that since 13 months, there were no rainfall. So, and the soil was almost dead. As we were moving in that area, you could really see like there was no organic material left anymore in the soil. And people were getting sick, animals were getting sick, and all caused because nature was destroyed.
So again, what's your chain of action there, KUTLUHAN? Like, how do you pick up the slack, or how do you pick up the horrible conditions with like 13 months of no rain? Where do you start?
Well, that is a difficult point. Let's call it like this, because it is not a matter of only a small garden or a community garden, but the whole area is becoming a big desert.
Yeah.
And there we have started two projects. One was growing food for the local community, because they were really having serious problems about reaching even a single meal a day, especially for the children. So it was a very strong input, let's call it like this. So we started with vegetable garden, and as the next step, we would like to organize also a reforestation, starting from the 6 areas, maybe 1 hectare, 2 hectare, maximum of 3 hectare, then sow seed balls and hoping that the rain will fall, because if no rain falls, obviously even sowing seeds will, yes, exactly.
Yeah, wow. And were you saying earlier that you start from a more like tropical region and you're going to kind of go out from a more like water dense place, or how do you go about doing it?
No, we will have these days we are making the, let's say, the travel plan, and we will have different points. One reforestation will be organized in the Lake Victoria area, and I believe that there will be successful and easy the process. And we will have another project in the border of Kenya and Tanzania, where the Maasai people are located. There it will be tough, but we will see. So it is not one single project starting from one part and going there, but there will be different areas and different zones of seeding, let's call it like this.
And this is kind of a weird question, but like, how would, like, for instance, the government of Kenya or Tanzania be able to help you? Because I've heard of like aerial seeding. Like I've seen Masanobu Fukuoka talk about like, seeding with planes. And then like, I think I've also heard you talk about like the kind of seed problems, right? Like Kenya doesn't even want good seeds there or something. Can you elaborate on those points?
Well, in the third world countries, including most of the countries in Africa, or the country where I'm coming originally from, Turkey, and many more countries in the third world countries, standard seeds are forbidden to use. They are not, you cannot sell them, you cannot buy them, you cannot even put it on the market. So they are simply forbidden. So if you like to buy
quick, what are standard seeds? It just means heirloom or what?
It is simply the seeds of nature that has never been touched by anyone, but still they are taken by some multinational companies and produced in plowed soil with fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides, and they commercialize those seeds and sell us back. These are the standard seeds, but yet those ones are forbidden to be planted or to be sold or to be used in most of the countries in the world. So, and Kenya is one of them. So it was and it will be very difficult to reach good quality seeds. We are organizing the local people to gather the seeds from the wild plants, to harvest their own seeds and start sowing them. But still, even if we are talking about the simple vegetable seeds, it doesn't exist anymore, the standard one. Either you have to buy the OGM or the hybrid seeds.
Jeez.
GMO in English, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But is this just like a commercial thing? Like, why is it like this? Like,
who controls the food can control the whole humanity. Unfortunately, there are only 7 multinational companies actually that they do this game on the seeds, and like in most of the most of the third world countries, already the standard seeds, they don't exist anymore. Like they simply forbid it. And this was a movement in the whole world that happened around 2012 and 2013. in the third world countries, they were able to make very direct and a strong movement. And in the European countries, or let's call it developed, in the developed countries, this movement was a bit sweeter. Like if I may talk about Italy, after 2012 or till 2012, the Italian farmers, they were able to keep their seeds in order to plant next year's. So from their harvest, they were putting on a side some amount of the seeds to plant next year. And 2012, this law passed, and this law says farmers cannot keep anymore their seeds. So they have to give everything to the merchant, and next year they have to return and ask to buy seeds from the same multinational company. And the dangerous point starts in the moment of when a farmer goes there and asks, I would like to plant this one. Can I buy the seeds? And they say, that seed is not available in the market. We can sell you that one. So they decide what we are eating.
Jeez, man, that is horrible. Wait, so like, yeah, what do? We just create like local seed banks, and we just keep sowing the seed and hope that the plants return to their native form. What do we do, man?
We have to act quick, start planting, keeping our seeds, exchanging between us, and keep on planting. That is, if we don't take this action now, probably our children will not have freedom of food. So we have to act as quick as possible.
Jesus, man. And I'm a little bit losing here, but I think you're coming back. But this ties right into a question I had for you. Is like, if you had like the ear of everyone in the world just for like a few minutes, what would you say to them, right? Because I think this kind of plays into that, like yeah.
I think we should hurry up. As Fukuoka was saying when he was in Greece, he was saying towards the end of his life, he was saying, hurry up, hurry up. So
wow.
I believe that was a very simple and powerful message from him.
I'm getting chills through my spine, man. Yeah, we got to hurry up. That's 100% for sure. Wow. So yeah. Anything else that you found very interesting in other Fukuoka disciples, for instance? Like what I'm kind of thinking in terms of soil fertility and stuff. Like what things did you find anything special that one farmer did differently, or that you thought stood out to you, kind of a thing?
Well, there was one interesting point that I realized first time in Argentina with Damian. They were all those farmers who were with Fukuoka, they were using a type of language that was slightly different than, let's say, nowadays language that we are using in our daily life. Just to make an example, they were not saying, today I go to harvest grain, or today I will go to seed tomato. Instead, they were using, today the grain will be harvested. Today, tomato will be sown. So
there is no I.
Yes. Yes. There was no person inside. There was the action needed to be completed or needed to be bring to the end. And there was no person in the sentences, even like the way that they were talking.
Just a clear vessel or medium, right? Like no like big credit and over exaggerated me process going on. That's amazing, man. Got it.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful, really.
So yeah, so like, and I kind of want to pursue that just a little bit more actually on the Africa front. So what can the government do, or maybe let's say a large NGO or something, like, do you think that if they were to be able to provide like again, like an airplane or something, or large hectares of land, we could speed up this? Because Fukuoka said hurry, right? So like what would be an adequate and responsible response from the like authorities if they were to help us?
Well, he was when he was in Greece, they saw even seed balls from helicopters, and he was towards the end of his life. He was very focused on sowing as much as seeds possible to whole planet. And I think the biggest help would be from anyone, not only government or
Yeah,
NGO or like from
yeah,
anyone,
yeah,
to be part of this movement. Just keep on together sowing seeds.
yeah.
Africa, here, there, where you think that it is needed, or even in your own city, if you live in a city, just go and sow seeds. And if you like to support this movement, you can provide some seeds, or as a government, just don't even hold us back. That is already enough.
Yes.
And nothing else, I think.
Yeah, don't even get in our way. We're trying to get out of nature's way, and they're in our way, trying to get out of nature's way. Yeah, that's insane. Actually, this is a little bit of a random question, but how do you go about growing grains? Like, because I'm very interested in certain they're called alkaline forming grains, like quinoa, amaranth, wild black rice. There's different kinds of stuff like that. How would you go about growing those things?
Well, I have tried some different type of grains,
Mm,
and till now, at least the climate that we are living in, the
mm.
best result we get from the rye and the buckwheat.
Okay.
So we are cultivating around. No, I think now we have maybe 3 to 4 type of grains that are cultivated, and in some
Mm.
parts there is rye cultivated, and right before harvesting rye, buckwheat will be sown, so the 12 months is complete. The rye goes 9 months and buckwheat goes 3 months, so it is the 12 months of constant plantation in the field.
Oh, okay. So do you do the whole Fukuoka thing where like before weeds can even grow, something's already growing?
Yes, especially with rye and buckwheat. This is working
Mm.
very well in our climate. And the rice that Fukuoka was growing, it is, we will actually, this Sunday, we are organizing a big event here at the farm Shizen to sow the rice of Fukuoka, Happy Hill rice. But this is just for us, like, because we are not in a climate of let's say the rice grown area, so yet we can still grow for ourselves, and we will be sowing maybe 1,000 or 2,000 square meter of area just with an intention of growing our own rice.
Mm. So, where would be kind of an ideal climate to do that? Like a wet area? Like, could you do grains in Africa? Like,
Yes, grain, like in Africa, in Kenya, there were also cultivating a lot of sorghum, different parts of sorghum and millet, and some rice cultivation also around the Lake Victoria,
mm,
because there were still good amount of water, and
mm.
also some local grains.
And let me just ask you specifically then, do you know anything about wild rice or teff or quinoa?
Yes, I heard, but I never cultivated, or I don't have direct experience with them. Like with
Gotcha.
quinoa and amaranto and the millet, I saw a few times,
Hmm.
but not in the large scale, let's call it like.
Okay.
And the wild
Gotcha.
rice, I never saw, to be honest, so I don't have any experience
Gotcha.
with it.
Yeah, and I've heard like wild rice is something like more of a swampy kind of area or something like that. But anyhow, yeah, that was just something curious that I personally want to know. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I'm actually kind of reaching the end of my questions here. Is there anything else that you think we should talk about? And I think maybe in future discussions we'll go more deeply into like one subject. I think today I kind of wanted to do more of kind of like a basic overview. Perhaps something that you think Fukuoka did exceptionally well, or it's something that maybe he should have improved on, if that's even something, like if there was anything he did that was quote unquote wrong. Is there such a thing?
I believe that he he dedicated and he gave his life to show to whole humanity actually that in order to survive, we don't have to do anything. We can, the opposite, we should stop all the human activities and simply do nothing and enjoy the life, write poems, sings, listen the birds. And this is a very big gift from Fukuoka to whole humanity. And it is beyond right or wrong. It is a beautiful gift from him to the whole world.
Truly, and that's why I love this word Edenology, like the logic of Eden is like not doing rather than doing so much, and not taking so much credit and not emphasizing the me so much. Yeah, that seems to me amazing, man. Well, yeah, I mean, perhaps you can give some closing thoughts to my audience. And the next time we pursue something more heavily, like perhaps like pruning or something like that. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All righty. Yeah. Without further ado, thank you so much, KUTLUHAN. Holy crap, this was amazing. Like, and I'll definitely come and visit you if you have like a job I can work or something under you, like as an apprentice. I swear to God, man, I will go there instantly and just like help you sow those seeds wherever and anywhere you think is fit. And I'm so fascinated with Africa too. So yeah, man.
I'm happy to hear that. We will organize together. Maybe we can even go to Africa together. Let's see.
All righty.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And we'll see you.